I am reading Dr. Karen Parker, my mentor and quantum human design teacher, her sort of like, what's the weather? What's the energetic weather that's going on in the universe that we live in? And she says, we close out February the way we lived it, honestly, and with very little room for pretending. This is so true. I have a photographer, a friend of mine, also familiar with human design, coming here to do a photo shoot this week. And it has been this progression over the last few months of these are the costumes that I'm going to wear. This is sort of the thing that I want to portray, these identities that I've been playing with. And within this last month, I got to the point where I was like, no, I don't even want to talk about the old identities. I'm just letting them go. I'm stripping them away. I don't have any energy for even like dressing up in the old pretend. I just want to be living in the now that I'm creating. So that is very true. She said, let us begin with Mercury on February 27th through March 19th. Mercury moves retrograde. Retrograde cycles are not punishments and they're not inconveniences to get through. True that. They are sacred recalibration points. Mercury governs communication, perception, language, agreements, commerce, and meaning making. When Mercury turns inward, so must we. During this retrograde, Mercury embraces or retraces its steps through gate 22, which is about grace, the gate of surrender, gate 63, the gate of curiosity, which is also about doubt, and the gate 37, the gate of peace, or not peace, tenderness. I think that one's tenderness. Mercury retrograde is never the time to force outcomes. It's a time to refine your words, reconsider your assumptions, review agreements, and slow your decisions. Expect delays. Expect crossed wires. Take your time with contracts and large purchases if possible. Most importantly, take your time with your own conclusions. Breathe. Patience will serve you. How this is showing up in my now life. Months ago, I purchased into having a passion app created for me. I knew that I wanted to have something that was mine, and I was thinking that it might be better than specifically relying on a website, and we got started. But I had this feeling like I needed to wait. But I let them kind of convince me we can go ahead and get started, and then we will pause as needed. We can let this process be as long as it needs to be. And we have 12 weeks to help walk you through getting started with this process, and then we're going to build the app for you. And I was hesitant because I had all of this travel going on. Needless to say, I had my first meeting last week, and I was feeling kind of disoriented. I was feeling like I wasn't quite ready, and I showed up to the call with actually questions. 63 questions, doubts, wonderings about how, what can the app do? And I was guided almost immediately through this process of getting on Google and getting on the Apple Store. And we were supposed to meet again next week. And I just messaged the person who I'm working with for, they changed their offer. They changed their offer too, which then led to them offering me an entirely different package for what I had already paid. There's a lot of change going on right now. Change, evolution, rethinking, restructuring, restylizing, reimagining. So I sent her a mail yesterday because I was feeling the sense of timing is not quite right for me right now. And the response that I got was, we can slow this down. And I said, I know my creative process. My creative process is like big expansion, big idea, get excited about it, my relationship to it. And then it goes in the incubator, kind of like babies. You get excited, there's the peak, there's the pinnacle. If you're Bridgerton fans, you know what I'm talking about. There's the pinnacle, and then mom and dad wait to find out if they're pregnant. And then the whole pregnancy has to ensue. That's what my creative process is like. I have my pinnacle. Usually that's the first thing. And then I gotta wait and see if the coming together took. And I have to be with that for a while. And I have learned, timing-wise, that if I try and rush that part of the process, I use the analogy in my email that if you set your alarm clock early and then you keep hitting snooze, keep hitting snooze, keep hitting snooze, sometimes by the time you get up, you're actually still really tired and then you might be late. But if you just let yourself naturally wake up, you might have woken up at the perfect time and not been late. So I've learned that about my creative process, that it's like, wait, just wait. And then after I do this, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. I think I can, I don't know. Do I see it? Maybe not yet. Like it's this dance that I have. Like everything for me is about dancing. It's being in this relationship. We're now in this choreographed dance. How are we going to bring this energy into actual form? How are we going to collapse that wave into a particle? So I read that and I was like, son of a biscuit, that is exactly what's been happening for me. As Mercury moves through gate 22, you're invited to surrender. That was me going, I'm just going to black out my website. I am going to let go of everything I've been working on and just let myself be present in gestation. Surrender is not collapse. It is not passivity. It's not giving up. It is the disciplined choice to release the illusion that you are the sole architect of every outcome. Imagine if you get pregnant and you had to be okay, now we're creating the bone cells. Now we're creating the tissue cells. Now we're going to get the heart to beat. Oh, wait, don't forget about this. And we got to remember to move, we're not the sole architect. Okay. Gate 22 asks, do you trust life? Do you trust yourself within life? Can you soften your grip without abandoning your agency? Grace is not weakness. It's alignment with timing. That, like my whole body, chilled with that. Then Mercury enters gate 63, the gate of curiosity, where at the making of this video is currently where I sit. I noticed it yesterday. I had a big awareness come in. And then this morning I was sitting with it because it felt uncomfortable. But I was just like, okay, I can feel this. I can feel this discomfort. I can feel this not knowing. I can feel this uncertainty. Because what I have come to learn about confusion and clarity is that clarity calls upon confusion so that it can come back to clarity. Confusion calls upon clarity so it can come back to confusion. Like it's this reciprocal sun rises, sun sets. Clarity comes, clarity goes. Confusion, right? Doubt, possibility. Let's see. Doubt may surface here. Self-doubt especially, but the purpose of doubt is not destruction. The purpose of doubt is refinement. Doubt becomes corrosive when it turns into certainty about your inadequacy. Doubt becomes catalytic when it turns into inquiry. Ask better questions. Stay curious. Wonder is stronger than fear. And that's exactly where I went this morning. I started asking myself, who is this next version of me that's becoming? The query that I did for 15 years before we ended up in Maui was, who do I need to become to be the girl who lives in Maui? And I had a lot of ideas and thoughts about who I was that kept me from being the Maui girl. All the reasons why I couldn't be. And so it was a process of refining that. Well, the identity, the who I am that got me here is also not going to be the who I am that stays here or goes somewhere else. Like, picks up the next calling, the next excitement. So my practice right now is to allow myself to be in curiosity. Like, what did I learn from those previous experiences? What did I learn about myself as a creator, as a creative? But then also, I wonder what I'm going to get to learn to be this next version of me. I wonder what skills, what practices, what rituals, what honoring will let me become the next version. And I wonder what that's going to look like. Is it going to be here? Is it going to be somewhere else? Is it going to be serving in a way that I've never served before? Is it going to be like restructuring and reformatting a way I've served before? I spent 30 years in the beauty industry, in the outer beauty industry. And what I've been dabbling with for this last decade almost is, what would it look like to be in the inner beauty industry? And how is it that I do that? I'm curious. I wonder how it is to be in the inner beauty industry, and what does that entail? So, stay curious. Finally, Mercury revisits gate 37, the gate of peace. Peace is not something you demand from the outside world. It's cultivated through alignment. Peace emerges when your agreements reflect your values, when your commitments honor your worth, when you stop negotiating against yourself. The shadow here is conflict born of scarcity. The gift is sustainable harmony, which is exactly what I also have been really paying attention to with my friend coming to take pictures of my now life. I was thinking about, is she going to be able to capture the transformation that I feel? Like, if I'm not doing the outer thing, is she going to be able to capture the inner? Because really, it's the inner that I want to show. It's the inner that I want to showcase, because that is where my true transformation has been. 3 years ago, I had this moment where I realized how mean I was to myself, how in conflict I was within myself, the relationships that were going on inside my heart, my gut, my mind. I was being a bitch. I was being critical. I was being the judge, the jury, and the hangman. And here I sit 3 years later with a completely different relationship within myself. Self-love, self-worth, that I can't and won't give up now. And that informs the way I act, the way I speak, the way I love, the way I care, the way I create. Like, what I value most about myself now also permeates every relationship I have, both inside of me and outside of me. And that's the key. Like, the relationships that we're forming inside, our mother, father, child, our masculine, feminine, our good versus evil, our victim versus abuser, our wild, artistic, creative versus mediocre, no inspiration or creativity. Like, these relationships are huge. And the 4037 channel is all about that relationship between self and how we show up in community. So finding peace first within ourselves, like, that's so important. But then being that peace as we step into friendships, as we step into relationships, as we step into community. So this is also up for examine. All right. The whisper of this retrograde is simple. Stop forcing, stop proving, Stop controlling, let go, stay curious, choose peace, trust what is meant for you, cannot miss you. Oh, that is so important. Now let us talk about the sun, earth, and the nodes. We begin this week with the sun illuminating gate 55, the gate of faith, and the gate 59, the gate of sustainability. On Tuesday, the sun moves into gate 37. And Tuesday, just for reference on this video, would be March 3rd, 2026. On Tuesday, the sun moves into gate 37, the gate of inner peace, while the earth grounds us in gate 40, the gate of restoration. These placements are conjunct the nodes. This is karmic territory. This is evolutionary territory. When the sun, earth, and nodes align like this, we are confronted with our contracts, old deals, old roles, old stories about who we are and what we're allowed to receive. Why is this important to me? What I've noticed, like just even in the last 24 hours, and I tend to sometimes feel the energy ahead of its coming. And what I noticed between yesterday and today was taking a stand for not compromising my sustainability and my support, whatever that looks like. Not being willing to put myself, like my old identity wanted to drive. She wanted to push, she wanted to force, she wanted to make shit happen. She was a doing. She wasn't a being, she was a doing. And I would put pressure on myself, like, you should be doing this. You should be taking better care of your family. You should be taking better care of your business. You should be doing more. You should be working. And I sent a text to my bestie a couple of days ago, and I was like, okay, I run a multi-million-dollar business, and I live my retired Maui life. And I was like, okay. So then I grafted my old way of being onto that. I'm in my office Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, seeing clients, doing readings, coaching, etc. And then one day a week, I'm teaching classes, maybe doing either like a group coaching or teaching a master class or doing this or doing that. And I'm like, okay, so that's 4 days a week and this many hours. And then I also need to have time to do the things that my business requires. And suddenly I started feeling sick to my stomach. I started feeling like, this feels heavy. This feels confining. But my mind wants to say, well, how is your current life going to be sustainable? But I was looking at it as my current life means this is how much my life costs. This is what my beingness costs, versus recognizing that the beingness that I have become, I take with me no matter where I go. Whether I live in 150 square feet or 15,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet, I am the same being that I take to any one of those places because I've anchored that here. So the contract that I have with myself is like inner peace. What I care about is rest in peace while I'm as alive as I possibly can be. So that made me realize that I had the equation backwards. Living my retired or living my Maui life or living my Lahaina life or living just like my free, abundant, fertile, vital life comes first. That comes first. And then I have a business that supports that, that sustains that. So this was a big key. And when I just read that, just here with you for the first time, I'm like, oh. So a few days ago, when I said that to my bestie, I was like, oh shit, I have them backwards. That's why it feels so heavy. It feels so gross. Is because I had them out of order. I wasn't in alignment with inner peace. I wasn't in alignment with my joy and vitality. because that has to come first. And my creativity. Okay. Gate 37, in its highest expression, is peace, reciprocity, and fair agreements. In its shadow, it is where conflict brews when agreements are built on inequality and scarcity. You cannot create peace from scarcity. You cannot create harmony from polarization. There is no middle ground when the underlying structure is distorted. If we're still organizing our lives through hierarchy thinking, through winner and loser dynamics, through victim and victor narratives, we will feel this tension intensely. This week asks you to look where you have accepted a contract that keeps you small, where you have internalized a victim identity, where you have denied your value, and equally important, where have you tried to compensate for insecurity by controlling outcomes or overpowering others, or overworking, or overserving, or over pushing, or overshooting yourself. Stop shooting yourself. It stinks. This is not about bypassing trauma. This is about metabolizing it. Trauma is real. Pain is real. History is instructive, but it's not predictive. Think about that sentence for a second. Fucking love my mentor. This is not about bypassing trauma. Just put a smiley face on it. This is about metabolizing it. Ugh, I feel it. And I'm going to be with it for a minute. I can let it move. Trauma is real. Pain is real. History is instructive, but it is not predictive. The nodes are asking you to stop building your future from the architecture of your wound. I cannot build a sustainable, supportive business that doesn't take into consideration the value of my being. My old story was to prove my value by doing. We're not doing that anymore. All right. With Mercury retrograding through gate 22 at the same time, the invitation becomes clear. Let go of the identity that keeps you bound to the past. Trust that if you release the role of the victim, you will not disappear. You will not be unprotected. You will not lose yourself. In fact, you may finally meet yourself. That's what happened for me here. I finally met the true version of me back in, I think it was end of 2017, beginning of 2018. Doesn't matter. Somewhere in there, I read Dr. Joe Dispenza's book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. How we basically are 95% of the time just running in the program. That book could have actually been titled in the HD community, Breaking the Habit of Being Your Not Self. You're doing self instead of who you truly be. Like every time I am upgrading my identity, my beliefs about who I really am, it requires a heavy amount of inquiry. That doubt, instead of doubting myself, I have to doubt the story that I believed about who I was and what I was capable of what was available to me in this old identity versus the new one that I want to create. And so it's like really being present with who you are now and not getting yourself too far ahead of things to try and figure out what you're going to do. Like, do some planning, but hold it loosely. If it needs to change, that's okay. You can change your mind. You can change your direction. That's exactly what I did when I messaged Passion and said, I'm going to need a hot minute. This is my creative cycle. Here's where we're at right now. I'm gestating. I'll let you know when the alignment comes in. Okay. Faith is not naive optimism. In fact, I would say, like, the deeper your faith, the more badass you have under your belt. Like, trusting the universe when you have a story that the universe hasn't had your back. In fact, like, some of us had a informative history that said, Ain't nobody got your back. You on your own, girl. You're going to have to figure it out. And you're going to have to be however gangster you need to be to get through this shit because nobody's coming to help you. In fact, I taught that to my daughter initially. I was like, be really clear with your decisions. Don't fuck up because nobody can save you. Well, I had a lot of faith to cultivate because I'd lost a lot of faith, but winning. Okay, where were we? Faith is not optimism, naive optimism. It is the disciplined choice to believe that you are not less than anyone. It is the refusal to define yourself by the worst thing that happened to you. It is the courage to stand hip to hip with others rather than above or below them. This week is not about stepping out of the box. It's about incinerating it. Yeah, let's burn some shit. Not your history, not your wisdom, but the small story that says you're bound by it. We are all being asked to write a new story on a clean slate, a story rooted in faith, curiosity, surrender, peace, and restored value. So, contemplations for the week. Where am I still honoring an old agreement that diminishes my value, and what it would look like to renegotiate it from a place of equality? When doubt arises this week, can I pause and ask a better question instead of immediately concluding that I'm not enough? In moments of tension, am I trying to force an outcome, or can I soften and allow timing to unfold? And where have I unconsciously organized my life around scarcity, and what small, concrete action would reflect trust instead? Like sending an email and saying, one moment, please. If my past is instructive but not predictive, what new story am I ready to author beginning now? Move slowly, speak carefully, review your commitments, cultivate faith, choose peace. This is the week where you stop negotiating against yourself and begin creating from sovereignty. So, from the words of my mentor, Dr. Karen Parker, and from my heart, hoping to translate this into the mundane, what everyday life looks like, the trusting in the process, the leaning into a little bit of the discomfort. It's like a big trust fall. It's like a big trust fall sometimes, and it can be uncomfortable. But we can do this. We can do this. Just keep breathing. And when you start feeling uncomfortable, be present with yourself. Anchor into you, anchor into your breath. Connect with your body physically. And know that you are enough. You are worthy. You are deserving of everything your heart desires. Everything we want is for, we want things. We want to be more. We want to grow. In some cases, we want less. We want to be less. For the feeling that we think we'll have in the doing of that. I wanted to be in Maui because I thought I would feel a certain way here. And when I first got here, it was the other frickin' direction, total opposite. But I waited because I wasn't having something that said, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave. In fact, everything was saying, stay steady, give yourself time, acclimate. It was stopping to be present with what I was feeling and not giving that to anyone else, not blaming anyone else for what I was feeling, just feeling it. And sometimes that's a really challenging thing to do. So I will leave you with this. Hand on a heart, hand on your belly. Breathe. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We're all learning. We're all growing. We're all occasionally falling down and scuffing our knees. There is no real such thing as doing it wrong, especially if you give yourself enough time. The things that I thought were huge freaking mistakes when I was a teenager, when I was a young adult, things that happened to me when I was a kid, have become some of my greatest treasures. It's a long-term investment. It's a long-term investment. And one that you have no proof is going to turn out. This is where faith comes in. Knowing that you've invested in something that you value and you care about, that's what matters. So, what do you care about you, your life, and then be with that part of you that's reimagining, reawakening, reconsidering, all the re's, retreating sometimes, retreating into your chrysalis until you're ready to come out as the butterfly. It's okay. We'll all be here. Some of us will be here, some of us won't. And that's okay. All right. Love you. Mwah.